Hi, my name's Kim. I'm here to share with you 9 things that I did to help heal myself of stage 3 colon cancer. Before we jump into that, my disclaimer: I'm not a doctor, I'm not licensed to give medical advice, and this is for educational purposes. So, having said that, here's my story. Last day of 2019, I found out I had stage 3 colon cancer. Prior to that, I had considered myself an extremely healthy eater, but I took it too far. I was very controlling about it to the point of it being an eating disorder, orthorexia, they call it. Didn't know that at the time, but later I would see that. So, for me to find out not only did I have cancer, but I have a cancer that related to my digestive system was quite a bit of a shock. And for about 2 weeks, I barely ate. I was paranoid, terrified of how would I eat? What would I eat? I just had no idea. So finally, obviously, I decided, well, this is not sustainable. And I just had this moment of knowing I'm going to eat a pescatarian diet. Mind you, prior to that, I had zero interest in eating fish and thought it was disgusting. Like, there's no way I'm eating that. So there's the first two kind of wrapped into one. I radically changed my diet and it was a great deal of surrender. I had to let go of a story. I'm the person who doesn't eat fish. Okay, so from there I decided, okay, I'm going to start really doing some research, which is just my way of being in the world, and look into supplements. Well, I had already been taking quite a few supplements, but I decided it was time to branch out and try some again that were outside of my comfort zone, but they were particular to helping with heal cancer. So high quality supplements is the third one, and again, the surrender key came into that. Um, the other things just kind of happen intuitively, and that's number 4. And all of it really, honestly, was intuitive. I'll come back around to that idea, but um, I decided one day that I was going to get out a letter that had been given to me by someone years prior. And it was a rather nasty letter that they had written to me that I only partially read, um, be- because I realized it was heading in that direction, and decided maybe someday I'll read this, because at the time I had just lost my daughter and was really struggling with a lot of grief and just really had no desire to read that letter. But by hanging on to it, I was not only holding it over my own head, but this other person's head. And I got that letter out. Actually, I had to go find the letter and I burned it. I didn't finish reading it. I just let it go. So that one pertains to releasing negative or suppressed emotions. I also decided I was going to start having some conversations with people that were long overdue. And this is not to say I was being hateful, but just some things that I was not honest about with them and that were kind of eating at me, like cancer. And I had those conversations. And yes, it was challenging, but I got through it and it went well. And I was glad I did it. Um, and speaking of gladness, I spent a lot more time being grateful for every little thing. I would take gratitude walks and be grateful for the grass and grateful for the colors of the leaves and grateful for the dogs barking and just grateful. Lots and lots of gratitude. So increasing positive emotions is another one. I also chose to embrace social support in a way that was meaningful to me. So, being more of an introverted person, I decided it was not in my best interest to share this willy nilly with the world. And yet, at the same time, I recognized I needed to lean on people, which was also not like me. Had become very independent as a result of several things. But um, so I started reaching out specifically to certain people and really leaning on them, even when it was uncomfortable. Like, oh man, I'm embarrassed. I don't want to ask them for help. Um, and my mindset was, I'm going to do it anyway. So embracing social support was another one. I really started leaning into diving deeper into my spiritual connection. So prior to this happening, I mentioned that I had lost my daughter. And for a good long while, years, I spent time being very angry with God and had made up my mind for a long time. I had no interest in that. Eventually I got to a point of acceptance, like, okay, we're all going to be fine, but I don't really understand what I believe. I just understand what I don't believe. I'm not angry anymore. I've reached a point of acceptance. I'm just not sure what I do believe. Well, now it was time to figure it out. So I started digging deep into what my spiritual beliefs were, and reading all kinds of books. What I'm not telling you is to go out and find a certain set of beliefs that match mine. Um, but it is important to know what you believe, and your beliefs do matter very much so, more than you know. Um, so deepening your spiritual connection is another one. I mentioned earlier about the intuition, and really that is the key to it all, because it was as a result of me being in tune, intuition, in tune with what was in my best interest, even if it felt scary or disgusting or any of those. Um, if it helped me to grow as a person, um, it helped me to expand my awareness and get outside of my comfort zone. That was the direction I headed. So let me make sure I recap all of these, the 9 things. Number one, radically change your diet. Number two, control of your health. So there's both a surrender moment and also a taking charge of your health moment. Like, I'm not just going to hand over the responsibility to somebody else and let them tell me how to do things. Follow your intuition, herbs and supplements, release suppressed emotions, increase positive emotions, deepen your spiritual connection, and last but definitely not least, that I forgot to mention, strong reason for living. If you're going to fight the fight, there absolutely has to be something that sustains that energy, because otherwise you'll give up. I'm not telling you which way to pursue your healing. What I am telling you is that your body is capable of healing, and it very much plays a part with your mind, and your diet. So those really are the two keys to wellness: is both your mindset, your emotional regulation, and your nutrients. What you're feeding this machine, this temple, um, is important. And knowing that you're compelled by something higher than yourself that keeps you going, because otherwise you're going to quit. It doesn't matter what that thing is, it just matters if it's really true for you. Like, don't do it because so and so said blah blah blah, expectations from others. No, do it because of what's really important to you, no matter what that is. This is why I fight. Okay, cool. There's no wrong answer as long as it's true for you. So, keeping that in mind, um, choose whatever path makes the most sense for you. And if I can offer you support in any of those 9 areas, I've got a great deal of knowledge and experience, and would love to be able to support you. All right. Take care. I realized I left out a couple of really important fun facts. About a year and a half after my diagnosis, and my cancer was gone at that point, I was taking a nutrition class because I decided to go back and get my master's. And I found in one of my textbooks that pescatarian diet is actually the best diet to help improve colon cancer. Not a coincidence. Don't believe in them. The other, even cooler fun fact is about a year ago, so this was 3 years after all this happened, um, I was recommended to watch a movie by a friend. The name of the movie is called Heal. It's on my website. You can find it on Tubi. Um, and in the movie, the one of the people is a researcher being interviewed, and she had done a bunch of research on over 1,500 people who had healed themselves of incurable diseases. What she found in asking them massive amounts of information was 9 patterns. Those 9 things that I expressed to you in this video that I intuitively did are what were the patterns. So here I am watching this movie 3 years later and realizing, oh my God, that's what I did. And it wasn't like I Googled it or something. My higher self, the Holy Spirit, whatever word you like to use, um, it was responsible for that. And I encourage you to go watch the movie. I encourage you to consider how you might be able to implement these 9 things, not just with cancer, but with any challenge that you're facing health wise.